a highly organized, and there are some very intelligent people behind these organizations, trust me. You know, a lot of people get the impression that they're just thugs running around the street, killing people and doing things like that. We weren't. And remember this, in the United States, we survived and prospered under some very difficult conditions for almost 100 years. We controlled the guys on the street in the numbers business. We controlled the unions. We had a lot of businesses under our control. We had a lot of politicians under our control. And we had access right even to the White House. Remember that. So this was not just a bunch of thugs running around thinking about, you know, what are we going to do? It was highly organized and Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. Everything is very good, very blessed on this end. As always, my friends, I give all the praise, honor, glory, and thanksgiving to my God for that, because he certainly deserves it, especially in my case. But hope everybody is doing well. Don't forget December 30th at Woonsocket Theater, the day before New Year's, December 30th, just outside of Providence. We're going to have a pre-New Year's celebration. Take the old year away and wish it goodbye, and hopefully we have a better year in 2024. But we'll have a glass of wine, a toast together, and look forward to that. And remember, March of 2024, 15 more cities in the United Kingdom. I can't wait. I love my followers there. They've been so great the last time I was there. I get so much good feedback from them on all the videos, and just love the whole town, the whole country. So don't forget, in March, there also is a link here. You can get tickets now. They're available now. So, you know, we did a video on Get Gotti. Just about everybody has seen that on Netflix, and we did a video. I gave you my comments on it. I didn't review the entire 3 episodes. I just kind of gave you my takeaways. Comments were great. I appreciate that. I mean, everybody's doing that. Gotti's obviously a big name. When people see that, you know, they light up and they have their comments on it. So, but on the heels of that, something else interesting came up, an article that I read. And, you know, I have to tell you this, you know, again, I dispel that myth that Gotti took down the mob. He did not take down the mob. We went through that. It was all about Rico. And, you know, I went into this in the last video. I'm not going to do it now. But I will tell you this. They've gotten smart. One thing that maybe Gotti did is because of the tapes that he got caught on, that obviously he didn't know he was being taped. He was in the confines of his own, you know, apartment upstairs. He didn't realize it, but he did say things out of turn, and it did turn out hurting him. We haven't heard much of that in the last couple of years. So maybe people have learned. You know, when I was in that life, there wasn't a day that passed where either the Daily News, the New York Times, Newsday, the New York Post didn't have a story about the mob. Somebody in the 5 families, maybe more than one story. You saw it just about every single day. Now, I read the New York Post and the New York papers every morning, maybe every 6 months, if that. You don't see anything. These guys have gone undercover for the most part. You don't hear much about surveillance tapes. You don't hear a lot going on. So maybe they got smart. Maybe they said, hey, you know what? We have to be low profile. I don't know this for a fact. I'm just observing what I've seen. Obviously, I do hear a few things here and there. I still have a couple of, you know, friends or relationships that know what's going on back east. But I got to say, they must have gotten smart. It's not going away in my lifetime, so it's not that it disappeared. I don't care what the government tells you, what law enforcement tells you. Not gone away. It's still there, and it's not going to go away in my lifetime. But this article, very interesting. It's about Italy. And let me tell you what's going on there. Things might be calming down here, but over there, not so. And this is the article. It's in the Irish Sun, and it's a recent article. The bosses of Italy's 3 biggest crime families have been spotted in a secret dinner, and fears of a super mafia alliance are on the government's mind. Senior mafiosi from the 'Ndrangheta in Calabria, Camorra of Naples, and Sicily's Cosa Nostra clans were caught on camera sharing pasta and wine. And they have a picture of it there. We're going to post it probably. And So they all got together, and this article is very interesting because some of the things that they're saying in here, again, they might be getting smarter too. Look, I don't have to say, Italy, there was a lot of violence there. They did things that we didn't do here in the United States. Judges got killed, prosecutors got killed, families went down. We didn't do that here. But, after reading this article, maybe things are starting to change. And I'm going to read it and give you my comments. The encounter dates back to April of 2021, was reportedly one of many meetings that the cops had under surveillance. So they've been getting together quite a bit. And this is historical. These three groups don't normally get together. As a matter of fact, they weren't all that friendly with one another, but now they seem to be getting together. Prosecutors have also warned the emergence of a grand crime coalition in the north of Italy. This is Milan, one alleged Camorra Mafia Don was heard saying to an ally, according to a Telegraph report. We're not in Sicily, we're not in Rome, we're not in Naples. This is where we're doing the good stuff, in Milan. By the way, I was in Italy over the summer, and Milan, what a beautiful city. I mean, man, I was so impressed with that city. You got to see the Starbucks in Milan. Oh my God, you would not believe it. It's like, I can't even get into it. Look it up, maybe you can Google it online. An amazing Starbucks there, huge, got everything in it, whatever. But Milan is a beautiful city, and it's the center of fashion. So now they're meeting in Milan. That's very telling. Reports say that the three families had put aside their historic rivalries, again, they were rivals, to form a super mafia alliance, taking advantage of business opportunities in the northern Italian region of Lombardy. They are also suspected of making hundreds of millions of euros investing in legitimate businesses in global fashion capital Milan. Imagine that. Now, some of the beautiful designer clothing that you are wearing might be, the mob might be involved in that. Maybe they financed it, whatever. But if it's legitimate business, what are you concerned about? I know what you're going to say, oh, Michael, where'd they get the money? It's illegal money. That's not your problem. If they're investing in business, they're investing in business. They're not hurting you. The clothes are still beautiful. You're not going to see any difference. But it's very interesting that they're going into legitimate business. Traditionally, not what they did in Europe and Italy. The organization had forged, quote, an evolved criminal network after agreeing a stable and enduring accord between Calabrian, Sicilian, and Roman mafia members, a sort of confederation, prosecutors told the Telegraph. It's kind of like this commission here that was formed by Lucky Luciano back in, the 40s, late 30s, 40s. Maybe they're all getting together and saying, hey, you know what? The violence is no good for us. We got to do things a little bit differently. We got to be allies rather than rivals. Although these mafia leaders once regularly engaged in violent conflicts, including public killings and brutal disputes, you know about that, they're now reportedly adopting a more discreet approach, preferring white-collar criminal activities over open gun battles. Wow. It's understood that the recently formed mafia in Rome is a hybrid of 'Ndrangheta and Camorra Mafioso. I didn't even know that. So now they have a group in Rome that is a hybrid of 'Ndrangheta and Camorra. Very interesting. The secret meeting discovery comes just over a month after the death of a notorious mafia boss, Matteo Denaro. I did something on that. I'm not going to repeat it, but you remember he died of colon cancer, I believe. The 61-year-old boss of bosses responsible for heinous crimes that shocked Italy and the world had been suffering from colon cancer. As Matteo Denaro's health deteriorated, he was transferred from his maximum security prison to a hospital where he died. And again, I did a video on this. The Mafia's, quote, last godfather, who fronted up the notorious Sicilian Cosa Nostra group, once boasted to have murdered enough people to fill a cemetery. That's not good business. And the results of that shown. He even joined the ranks of El Chapo and the successor to Osama bin Laden on the list of the world's 10 most wanted fugitives. And he was on the run for, I think, 30 years or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. A long time. I think it was 30 years. His murderous clan had previously inspired the epic 1969 crime novel and blockbuster 1972 film, The Godfather. Yeah, I believe so. Mario Puzo did have him in mind when he wrote that amazing book, The Godfather. Following his reign of terror, he picked up 20 life sentences in absentia for his role in numerous murders, bombings, and attacks on rival mobsters, their innocent relatives and civilians. And once again, people, in Italy, unfortunately, they did that. They went after families, they went after prosecutors, they went after judges and law enforcement people. And yes, car bombings and things like that. We didn't do that here in the United States. We did not. So say whatever, but we didn't do that. Hands off. We weren't to do that. With law enforcement, we said, hey, they're on one side, we're on the other, you fight. As far as families are concerned, like I said, until this day, I don't know that that's been violated. We didn't go after family members. We didn't hurt them. That's why when I walked away from that life, I wasn't concerned that my son, was on the street in New York. Not on the street, but, he was living in New York. He's out here with me now. But I was never concerned. And people ask me about that. Michael, weren't you concerned about your son? No, because that was one principle and policy that we kept. And like I said, until today, I don't know that it's been violated. Maybe, but I don't know that it has. The boss of bosses was convicted of the 1992 murders of two anti-mafia prosecutors, Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. I covered this in another video. The following year, he was responsible for a spate of horrifying bombings, which killed 10 people and injured 93 across Florence, Milan, and Rome the following year. His savage brutality led to him nicknaming himself. He called himself the devil. Man, why would anybody want to be, I got to tell you, when things happen like that, whether this guy was in the mafia or not, he was just not a good guy. And I've said this many times. Look, Greg Scarpa, if he wasn't in Cosa Nostra, he would have still been Greg Scarpa. This is just who he was. The mob didn't make him that. Roy DeMeo, same thing. This is just who he was. The mob didn't make him that person. He would have been that person whether he was in that life or not. And I know some people say, well, you know what? It didn't do him any good being in that life. And of course, I agree with that. But he would have been that person whether he was in that life or not. And just understand that. And look, I don't know why anybody would want to be known for that. I really don't, And the way we did things in that life, it was a last resort to do things like that. And, look, my boss, Carmine Persico, he was a tough guy. And he believed, in ruling with an iron fist, so to speak. But, he wasn't the first one to pull the trigger. He wasn't the first one to order to pull the trigger. He listened. And that was a last resort for many of us in that life because we knew it was no good for business. So imagine this. They're now concerned in Italy. Remember this, people. These people are not, just street thugs that just go about their business. This is a highly organized, and there are some very intelligent people, behind these organizations. Trust me. A lot of people get the impression that they're just thugs running around the street, killing people and doing things like that. We weren't. And remember this. In the United States, we survived and prospered under some very difficult conditions for almost 100 years. Think about that. Before RICO came into effect and really, took the mob apart in a lot of ways. Just think of it. We controlled the guys on the street, in the numbers business. We controlled the unions. We had a lot of businesses under our control. We had a lot of politicians under our control. And we had access right even to the White House. Remember that. So this was not just a bunch of thugs running around thinking about, what are we going to do? It was highly organized. And now it seems that in Italy, they're getting smart. They're going into legitimate business. Like I said, the clothing on your back, from Milan, which is one of the fashion centers of the world. Milan, Paris, the deal. If they're getting involved in legit business, I don't know where the money's coming from. It's not for me to comment. People are going to say, well, they're big drug dealers. Well, a lot of the Sicilians were known to be big drug dealers, a lot of heroin dealers. You remember the pizza connection here in the United States, something we didn't get highly involved in, but back then, yes. Who knows where the money's coming from? But if they're getting smart and getting involved in legitimate business, hey, you know what? It's the way to go. And I got to tell you this, from what I'm hearing, and I don't want to get into the whole thing because people are going to be knocking me, but listen, you know what? You'd rather have the Mafia in control than Hamas, that's for sure, or Hezbollah, or any of these terrorist groups around. That's for darn sure. And I can tell you this also, we don't know what's coming in over this southern border, people. We really don't. And I wish, the mob was in control of the neighborhoods that I live in again, because at least we would have some control over, who's coming around and who might be doing the wrong thing in our neighborhood. And I mean that, because if we even sense something, those people would be gone. But hopefully that's not something that we're going to have to deal with. We don't know who's came into this country in the past couple of years. Obviously, it's on my mind. I have kids, I have grandkids, and I'm concerned about it. How can you get away from it? You hear it every day on the news. It just doesn't stop. But anyway, very, very interesting. So, you know what? Alive and well in Italy, going strong in Italy, and we'll see what happens with this. But to me, this was very interesting. All three Mafia groups getting together. So that's it for today. How do I always leave you people? The same way. And I did make a statement in the last video. I want to make it again. There's so many things going on in the world that are really upsetting people. There's so much anxiety. There's so many mental health issues. And by the way, I have a video coming up with the son of Sam. People are very concerned, and rightfully so. I get it. But you can't do anything about so many of these things. So you got to do your best not to let it worry you, not to let it concern you. Be concerned with things that you have control over, because that's the best you can do. If you're a Christian, a person of faith, pray about it. We know God is in control. We'll see what happens along the way. We do the best we can. We still have to have faith that somehow, some way, America is going to work this all out. We pray for that. That's it. Holidays are coming up. Hope everybody's ready for that. I surely am. I just have maybe 1 or 2 more travels before the end of the year. I'm very excited about that. I'll be able to put more content together, spend more time on YouTube. I intend to. And listen, I have a very big opportunity coming up, something that we're going to announce. You're going to hear about it in the next couple of weeks. I think you're going to be excited about it, and I certainly am. So that's it for today. How do I always leave you, my friends? Same way. Be safe, and please do. Ladies, always look around you. Be observant of everything that's going on around you. It's just a good policy. Be healthy. Got to take care of yourself. We know that. And yes, when I say this, I don't say it lightly. God bless every single one of you, and all of your family and all of your loved ones. I'll see you next time. Take care.